Welcome back, everybody, and this is the new save file system. We have a star, which pretty much indicates we've completed the intro level, but we're going to start with Centaur Man, because it is one of the 2 water levels of the Robot Master stages, and if I recall correctly, this one has kind of a few annoying areas, but I think it's actually the easier of the 2 water stages. Plus, Centaur Man's weapon is actually very useful, and I kind of want it now. But the level starts you off with an extra life straight out of reach, of course. I mean, you'd have to get a rush jet, or a rush coil, or tornado blow, or even, well, I don't know, even I think Yamato Spear could probably get that extra life for you. But pretty much the first half of the level is more or less underwater, and a lot of spikes. Way too many spikes. I think this right here is the worst of it. I think the worst jump is right here. If you press too hard, the jump physics in this game underwater are a little bit, how should I say it, a little bit off compared to other Mega Man games, so you just gotta get used to some of the physics in this game. But if you jump lightly, even that hardest jump there is not gonna be that bad. And okay, this part really slowed down slightly for me. It's not too bad when I'm not recording, but when I recorded this version, for whatever reason, parts of this game are not very recorder friendly. And this was definitely one of those parts. So what ended up being a normal speed area of the game became rather slow and sporadic once I started the recording device. But yeah, this is a little bit of a tough area in terms of just the jumps and stuff. But if you just wait until the water is down at its lowest point, you should have enough heft in the water to get all the way across even the longest jump, which I think was the first jump. That was probably the worst jump in that area. And here we have the giant squid. And I know that I think in the enemy card that I'm going to be showing there, it says the Spark Shock is indeed the better of the 2 weapons. And that's only because the individual shots of the Magma Bazooka only do less damage than the individual shots of the Spark Shock do. But if you were to get up close to any of those giant squids and hit them with each of the 3 Magma Bazooka shots all together, then one shot alone would kill the giant squid. But the reason why I selected the Spark Shock was just for the strength of the individual shot. But yeah, there's a section off to the left there that is an exit only from an alternate path from earlier in the level. And our first instance of Eddie, and he didn't really give us much of any worth. Now this is a rather difficult location of a giant squid. He's kind of perched really bad. On purpose, of course, and it's right before a mini-boss. Now this, I think, takes cues, at least to me anyway, from Mega Man X3, where all the stages had like a mid-boss point, or actually, you know, sometimes had 2 mid-boss points, and one of them was completely empty. And that was to make room for Bit and Bite. And when I first played this, these platforms that disappear kind of threw me off guard, because in Cossack's Castle Stage 3, they were actually kind of a balloon type of platform where every time you would jump, they would rise up. But here, it's just after a certain length of time, they disappear, so it kind of threw me for a loop. And this enemy is new. I've played earlier beta versions of this, and that new seal enemy was not, I think they're called Arcs, but that wasn't there, so that's actually a new enemy placement. So we got a little bit more of, oh gosh, we got a little bit more dynamic water jumping here in this section. So now you got some different enemies to deal with. I think we're actually going to be introduced to a new enemies type here, the little... oh gosh, what are those called? Canamparas, I think they're called. Yeah, they're rather annoying. They don't exactly function the way they do in Mega Man X or Mega Man 6. They usually... now, here, they fire shots at the peak of their pattern, the peak of their up-down vertical movement. So that's something you have to keep account for now. Yeah, some of these level designs are slightly weird. Like this room right here just seems... I don't know, it just doesn't seem like something an official game would, or official Mega Man game would have. Like this room here, it's kind of an interesting setup of like pillars and individual platforms and stuff. It just seems kind of weird and thrown together. Now off to the left there is another side alternate route, but since we don't have the Rush Marine, there's no point going there. Now most of these levels, or at least the... oh gosh, that was terrible. Most of these Robot Master levels, they're actually very long. Very painfully long. Oh my goodness, there's a fish in the thing there. I didn't even notice that when I was recording. That's too funny. Wow, I'll have to report that. But yeah, this is actually one of the shorter levels, Centaur Man stage. It seems long, but it actually goes by pretty darn quick. Now, from what I've noticed playing Centaur Man, he is very pattern-based. He's very random. He's very random what he starts off with on his pattern, but once he... there you go. Once he commits himself to his first action, he then follows his pattern to a T. He doesn't variate for anything. So if you can memorize this pattern, then pretty much you have this battle in the bag. You just need the reflexes. And sometimes it's very hard to dodge him. Like when he does that triple shot, you always want to jump because he'll always fade out and then run across the screen. So let's... I think this take was the best take. So yeah, he's starting again with the phase ends, trying to telefrag you, and then he'll do the double gallop across the screen, do the triple shot, then he'll fade out, run across, and then he'll do a double shot. Then I think he'll run across. No, he'll do the flash, then he'll do another double shot, and that's when he runs across. And then he repeats again with the telefrag, and then so on and so forth. So that is pretty much his pattern, and if you can react to it and pretty much counter his every move, like here he's going to flash, but it's going to be pretty much a non-issue, so don't worry about this flash. Now here, this is the hardest one to, yeah, either dodging his shots or dodging his charge. And then standing in the middle, I think, seems to work best, because you can jump over both him and his ghostly double the moment both of them cross underneath you. And that seems to be a habit with these Robot Master bosses. Every time I kill them, I usually kill them with like 1 to 4 units of health left in the energy bar. So most of these battles are close calls. So now we got the Centaur Flash, which is very useful. It can kill most enemies on screen, wide screen damage, and it actually can slow down instant death magma beams, which becomes very useful in Magma Man's level when acquiring new additional items. So we have the EX Recover special item, and then we have an E-Tank and a W-Tank. And that's all you can find in Centaur Man stage. Okay, for the extra life, yep, as I mentioned earlier, you have the rush coil. Look how awesome that Centaur Flash was. But since I'm so close to the actual alternate path entrance, I'm just going to continue on as normal and then display it here. This is one way you can do it. You can do the rush coil. But you can also do the Yamato Spear. You can also do the Tornado Blow. You can also do the Rush Jet. There's quite a few things you can do here. Now, to me, getting across this section is really hard to do with your Buster only. You have to kind of know when the enemies like that Pelican is going to come by and then just get rid of them with the Centaur Flash. Now, if you go any further this way, this will take you right next to that giant squid right before the mid-boss point. If you want to go right here, that's where that takes you, but that's not where we're going. If you want to get the special EX recover item, you want to drop down here between the spikes and take another route. And again, if you were to go right here, that would be right next to the Arc and the alternate path exit only that I mentioned earlier. And this is where the Rush Marine comes in. There's like no way you can get around this area without the Rush Marine. It is a literal spike death trap. And you're gonna come to a point in the next screen where you really, really want that big energy, or weapon energy. And here you go, EX Recover. All energy pickups give you double the health from here on out. Okay, so we saw this ladder earlier. You can get there via the Tornado Blow, Rush Jet, or Rush Coil. So multiple ways to get there. There's 1,000 points behind that giant squid if you're talented enough to get it. And this time we're going to go to the right. Next time we'll head to the left. And this again, you need the Rush Jet, or the Rush Marine. Because there's no way you're going to survive this. Not even with the Spike Guard are you going to make it through here alive. But pretty much it's a nice little interim area as you go over here, and we're right near the end of the level. Okay, so we're traveling back up this alternate path again, but this time instead of going to the right, we're going to go to the left. And this is kind of a trickier path, and this leads to the W tank. The E tank I think is far easier to get, especially once you have the Rush Marine. Now this is an interesting area. I thought it was kind of a cool idea. It's like a body of water encased in and of itself in the air. Yeah, that was the trickiest jump with the low-hanging pillar there. If you can make that jump, the rest of this section is pretty easy. There isn't anything too hard about this section. You just got to keep up on these hidden submarines. Because if you don't, they're going to swarm you, and it's going to be very, very hard getting out of the water for the next section. Okay, we're almost to the W tank, and I hope you had the Magma Blast, otherwise you would be pretty much at a wall here to get in the item. But at least you'd be able to continue on and finish the rest of the level if you hadn't beaten it yet. Now, I would recommend you could make the jump here. Terrible! Tornado Blow. Yeah. Very bad enemy placement there. And here you are, right at the very end of the level. And this level actually holds an Easter egg. Very well hidden, not very well documented, but for those crafty explorers out there, you need to use the Rush Jet. Now the tricky part here using the Rush Jet is you must not let it touch the water, because as soon as you have it touch the water, he's going to warp out and you're dead. And here we find Land's Megaman Net Navi from Megaman Battle Network. Now, these do a lot of damage to you if you attack them head-on, and they're only vulnerable to one weapon and one weapon only, and I'm trying to figure out what that one is. Okay, this one is vulnerable to the Power Stone. You get 25,000 points, 2 extra lives, and you get a warp to somewhere later down in the level. Pretty cool. Nice Easter egg.